Hello and welcome to RNB Fusion podcast. Now, if you like your podcast with a bit of fruity language and some adult themes, then look no further. This is the podcast for you. However, if you don't, then you might want to go and look on like BBC Radio 4 or CBeebies or something along those lines. You didn't have a farm, Ben?
Paul was an alien. There you go. Done.
It's an egg.
Is it an egg? Hashtag legend.
Because Jif is that cleaner or the polisher, whatever it is. Hello there. Let's cause divide in the world, Ben.
Go back in time and get a load of Bitcoin.
I was a rebel, mate. You know, the system couldn't hold me down. Hello everyone and welcome back to RNB Fusion with me, your co-host Ross, and my co-host
Benni Boi.
How are we doing, Benni Boi?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Ross?
I'm good. I'm really hyped for this episode, I've got to say, because we've been kind of having a pre-podcast chat and, you know, we've been getting in the mood. And as I was saying before we started recording, I was telling you a story about our topic today, something to do with it, and I am holding off purely for the fact of I think it'd be really cool and interesting. But what I've got to say is thank you to all of our listeners, because Ben, what milestone have we hit?
We've hit over 100 listens. We're on 101.
101, look at that. 101 Dalmatians. What a wonderful time to hit that number, especially with the new Cruella de Vil trailer happening as well. What a coincidence.
There you go.
I just want to say thank you to all our listeners again, just because it's you guys sharing the pod, playing it when you're out in your walks. Like I've seen so many people who've tagged us in it, and you know, people who have come up to me, well, not personally come up to me because we're all in lockdown and nobody's allowed within 2 feet of me, but have messaged me and stuff like that and saying, oh, you know, we've loved the pod. You and Ben have got a great chemistry. We love the fact that you're just talking about a bit about anything and everything, like. And it's so good. So thank you so much. Without your support, there is no point for us to record. So it just feels nice having people who want to listen to our ramblings.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Thank you to everyone. And just remember, follow and share.
Yeah, that's it. And don't forget to email us and hit our Facebook page, hit our Twitter page. You know, we are RNB Fusion on the social media. And because I may or may not have forgotten the email, Ben, what's the email again? I need to learn it.
The email is rnbfusion@outlook.com.
I've got to admit, before we get started with today's amazing topic, I've got to say, I do miss the fact that it's not called Hotmail anymore. It feels a bit odd calling it Outlook. It feels very professional and business-like.
Yes, it's Outlook now. Well, all the Hotmail has been taken up, hasn't it? So they had to think of something else. I think there's a new one as well, isn't there? Like Go Live or something as well now, I think. But
I knew they kind of started to push the @live.com. But I remember if you had a Hotmail account, you were cool. I remember, so my first ever email, Ben, was Blue Yonder.
Blue, okay. Okay. Mine was a classic, you know, my initials and then about six numbers, I would say. And then, yeah, @Hotmail.
Did you have the underscores and the X's and like capitals in between?
Oh, no, I was too cool for that. No, just a straight initials and then just a couple of numbers. That was it, you know.
So the first one I got on Hotmail was vrossi, mgp08 @hotmail.co.uk, because one, I'm born on Valentine's Day and my dad nicknames me Rossi because it's one of his favourite riders. And I remember when I went for a college application and I said, oh, what's your email? And I put that down. It was then I realised I needed to actually change my email.
Yeah, there is a point you think I need to get a professional one, you know, and just do that.
Yeah, you can't rock up and say, hi, here's my business card and it says pussyslayer58 @hotmail.co.uk. Like, can you imagine rocking up to a business like that? That'd just be amazing.
Ross, we're going to have to do a whole pod on this now. We're going to have to do some research, find some good email addresses, some good usernames, or we're going to have a cracking laugh.
Exactly, but I think we're going to talk about something even more fun today, which not a lot of people like, but you and me are quite interested in this, and it is sports.
Yes, a bit of rugby. Come on, I can't wait to talk about this. Come on.
So, Ben, sports, it's something that in school you either hated or you loved. As you grew up, you often find a favourite sport, or sometimes you decide to just completely ignore that side of the world. And it's one of the most hated pub quiz questions ever. Like, from when I've done quizzes, everyone says they hate the sports round because nobody knows anything.
I wasn't much into sports when I was at school, but I've slowly got into it, and I'm a really big rugby fan now. What about yourself? What do you like, Ross? Sports
for me was a weird love-hate relationship. So I have always been a massive football fan until about 2007, 2008, where I kind of stopped watching football and I detested it. I couldn't stand it. But then I kind of started to rekindle my love for it after watching, was it the 2006 World Cup? Not 2006, 2010 World Cup. And I started really getting back into the football side, and I started following my old team again and really getting into it to the point now where, I'm back into how I used to be, football mad. With motorsports, I've never really followed. So Ben, with motorsports, you're going to have to explain to me in detail what different type of motorsports and what you like, because the only ones I know is what my dad likes, which is MotoGP. And then also I know F1 as well, because you and a few friends of mine all like F1, and I've never really followed motorsports. So you're gonna have to walk me through this, Ben.
I think the first sort of like racing, like motorsport thing I went to go and see was banger racing.
I saw that actually once.
Yeah, my cousin at the time was doing banger racing, and I went a couple of times to watch him. Then he stopped and went on to motorbikes and was riding classic motorbikes, and sort of got into it. Let's put it that way. But my family have always been into F1, and then we went into motorbike racing. Formula One got a bit, I hate to say it, but boring.
Yeah.
And motorbike racing got a lot more interesting. It was a lot closer. People, I mean, if they were going to go for a spot, they were going to go for it. There was a bit of argy-bargy, they really went for it, and it was so close in motorbike racing. This is Formula One. When I was growing up, very good, fantastic. You got your Schumacher, Mika Hakkinen, but it seemed to be a lot closer then. The rules kept changing a lot in F1. What was good, so the teams had to keep developing the cars and etc. and have different tyres. But the problem with F1 is there's a big gap. If you were going to join F1 now with your own F1 team, obviously.
I mean, if I could afford an F1 team, I wouldn't even start one. I'd just go and buy a house for one.
I was going to say, I think the entry fee is just 150 million for F1. They'll say
150 million just to join.
I think it is. I think there is a fee. What is in the six figures, like in the millions.
150 million. You could buy an entire housing estate for that.
Last time I checked, it was definitely around the 100 million, 150. If you're thinking about joining, they are changing the rules in F1 to try and make it affordable, and they're putting a price cap on certain areas now. I'm not 100% sure, but it's around the 189 million they want to cap all teams, so they can only spend so much money. I think they're trying to make it, a bit more even, and that. I mean, personally, for me, I think they should keep the teams, how they are now. Have two cars in each team, but anyone who wants to join like an independent team, I think should be allowed to have one car, so then we can have more cars on the grid and do something like that. But I think they've got a lot of tweaking, but they've got competition with Formula E as well, what's progressing through the ranks.
When we think of sports in general, we always think of motorsports, we think of football, we think of the Olympics, we think of like boxing. You think very physical, well-known sports. But people forget there are weird sports in the world. Like I said, you've got cheese rolling. So basically in Britain, there's this sport called cheese rolling where somebody will roll this massive wheel of cheese, and I'm not talking like a little baby bell, I'm talking like massive. They roll it down a hill and people chase after it, right? Now, I've seen some of this. You need to, honestly, if you've never watched cheese rolling, go and watch it. It's the most funniest thing in the world because people get brutally injured in it. Like, you see people rolling and flying. But the perks of it is, and it's one reason why I want to compete in it one day, is if you get the cheese at the bottom, you get to keep it.
Do you want a cheese, though, what's been rolled down the hill? It's got all dirt on. Come on.
Mate, as I said in the last one, there is such thing as a 5-second to 20-second rule. It depends how good the food is.
Yeah, but if it's a 10-minute rule, I'll be like, nah, I'll give it to the second geezer. Yeah, you can have that. No, I'll be looking on the terms and conditions. Does it say it's wrapped before you took it down? Am I going to get injured? Is it injury-prone sport, that?
It is brutal. Like, the amount of people that get injured. Because, like I said, it's quite a vertical hill. And obviously, you've got all potholes and stuff and natural forms in the ground that you can fall over. But honest to God, some of the injuries you see happen are brutal. There's a wonderful world of weird sports. Like, you've got bunny racing, which is kind of like Crufts, but with bunnies.
Have you seen that sport? I think it's in Ashbourne where they have where there's loads of people and they chuck a ball and they have to get it to one side to the other.
Oh, Shrovetide.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah, it happens around February going into March time. It's this massive tradition where I think it's like a rugby ball or something like, or it's like I think it's like a traditional ball they have. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But you have to get it from one side of Ashbourne to the other, and there's 2 teams. Yeah. And it is brutal.
It makes UFC look like a girls' game.
It makes rugby look like a girls' game.
It's scary. I mean, there's fists flying. I mean, people are breaking into people's houses. Well, not anyone's house, but if the ball goes into a house like down this strip, they go in, don't they? And
I know. It's a bit like, you know, when you used to kick a ball over your neighbour's fence, you had to go around and go, "Excuse me, sir, can I have my ball back, please?" Like, they would just go, "Excuse me, look, we've got a massive game. We need that ball or we're taking you out with us."
I take the ball.
You can be the ball.
Yeah.
I think one of my favourite weirdest sports I've ever seen is the slap competitions. Have you ever seen them?
No.
Oh, Ben, and to listeners as well, search up slap competitions, because those are brutal. Now, we all played in school the game of slaps. It's not like that. It's basically people on a table facing each other and they slap each other in the face until the first one gets knocked out.
Oh no, I have actually. I've seen this. I've seen it. I've seen a clip on social media. I just thought they were just smacking each other up. I didn't know it was a competition. So,
yeah, no, it's an actual competition. It's a tournament. So basically, what happens is if you get knocked out, you're out. And I remember seeing this skinny guy, right? And there was a bloke who looked like Eddie Hall and the Mountain, the Icelandic strongman. And this skinny bloke went up to him, slapped him. This bloke just took it on the chin, and it was his turn. And he knocked this guy into the middle of next week. Like, honest to God, the pelt that he had, like, he warmed it up because you see him bring their arm back, put the hand to the face so they know they're going to hit it. A bit like a golfer when he's teeing up the ball. And you just watch this slap happen. Oh, I felt it. Like, you see the sweat marks just fly off him, like, in the form of his face. It's a sport that, oh my God. I'd love to see a slap champion go against a boxer and take a hit off them, because I can imagine they'd take it pretty well. What I will say about sports is, as an actor, I miss performing live events. And Ben, I assume you miss performing live events DJing-wise.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I do miss being at a live sport event. Like, you just cannot beat the atmosphere at a sport event. I think it's incredible.
There's nothing better than, like, it's the atmosphere, isn't it? You know, and everyone's getting like, yeah, we're winning, or cheering them on, or get off you know, or something silly, like, and just it's just the whole thing, isn't it? I mean, the players get a good vibe from it, so then they start playing a bit better, and everyone's just enjoying themselves. When you're in a stadium, what can fill 30,000 and everyone's cheering or maybe booing. It's
it depends it depends which team's playing at that stadium, whether it's yours or not.
But no, it's such a good great feeling. Or like, for instance, if you start a chant off, that is the thing. I mean, if you like start a chant off, or like, and everyone does it, you're like, yes, come on.
Or a Mexican wave. Like, one of my favourite things to do at either a concert or a sporting event is to try and start a Mexican wave and get it going. Now, I've only ever managed to achieve this once. And I was at a Villa game with my mate, and me and my mate tried to get this Mexican wave going. So we go, hey, hey, like, you know, failed attempts. And then eventually we got it going, and it went all the way around. And we were sitting there going, that was because of us.
I've never done that, but I can imagine it's a great feeling. It's like, you know, like Come On Wasps or something, you know, when I go to Coventry, like the Rico Arena, and someone shouts out Wasps, and then everyone else, you know, starts shouting. It's such a great feeling, isn't it?
Chants are amazing though at any sporting event, because every team has a unique chant. So when I went to a Liverpool game many, many years ago, you know, the big one they have is You'll Never Walk Alone by Jerry and the Pacemakers. And that plays at every start of the game. And when you have the whole crowd going, walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never, and everyone sings that, it just is this, like, it's very emotional. It's quite overwhelming. I remember welling up when it happened, because I was thinking, oh my God, I'm at a place I've always wanted to be at, and I'm witnessing this amazing feeling. Then you get some really creative chants, like, you know, you get the Icelandic chant, which is when they clap and go, ooh.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then it gently goes and it gently speeds up after some time. And honest to God, watching that on the TV, I mean, I really wish I can witness that in a stadium. But chants, again, a lot of them can be mixed in with other songs. So like when I said in the social media one, when I was talking about the fact that a bunch of Liverpool fans on Facebook went into McDonald's and went, Mo Salah, da 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 da. Obviously mixing other songs in. So there's one they sing at Liverpool, which is, you know, the song that goes, oh, sit down, oh, sit down. Well, they do that for one of the players called Mo Salah, and it goes, Mo Salah, Mo Salah, Mo Salah, running down the wing, Mo Salah, la 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 la. And that obviously all came from that. And I think chants are so inventive, because some of them you'll get which are obviously abusing the referee, like going, referee's a wanker, or you're abusing the other team because it's all a bit of banter. When I went to a Carabao Cup game with my friend Elliot, and it was Liverpool versus Villa, like there was so many different chants going on. So the team was really young. Like I think the average age was about 16 to 18, because the senior team was actually in Dubai at the time trying to win the Club World Cup. And when I was watching this, all you heard was some of the Villa fans chanting, going, you got school in the morning. Like, it's all these kids. And it's so good listening to the banter of some of the chants. And I think it's just incredible. Like you said, I can imagine at the rugby games there's so many.
Yeah, it is something. The first rugby game I went to Twickenham. It was the final. Never been to a rugby game. And I thought, okay, we'll go to the final. Just when we're just looking, you know, where to go. When I just looked around, I was like, "Wow, this is huge."
Yeah, like you don't understand it, do you? Like when you watch it on TV, you think, "God, that's big," but then when you're actually in that stadium, you think, "Oh my Christ, this is massive."
Yeah, I think it was an 80,000 stadium, and it was full. But I just remember it was Leicester Tigers versus Northampton, and there was a guy in front of me, and he was ever so funny, and he was like, I'd rather be a Tiger than a Saint, oi, oi, and he was like giving it all that, and I was like, his wife next to him was like, shh, she was like, no, and then he just carried on. It was so funny. Oh, it was a good game. It was really good.
But that's it. Like you can't really do that at a concert, can you? Like when you're at a sport event, you get away with saying bloody murder.
Yeah.
But when you all in unity start going, referee's a wanker. Like I don't know why, but that's such a great chant to shout at them. Like, it just shows the ref that the fans aren't happy with decisions going against them. And it's just brilliant.
And I just love how the referee does not respond. That time when the referee just goes, yeah, okay, let's go on the game. Come on. Anyway,
I think if you're going to be an athlete, it's a bit like being a performer. You've got to have tough skin. But if you are a ref, you've got to have the hardest exterior known to man, because let's be honest, if you're a player on a team, your fans will always support you no matter what, unless you're doing crap, then they'll let you know. But a ref is hated by both sides. You've got both sets of fans at you all at the time.
Yeah, it's a hard job of being a ref. I wouldn't even want to have a go. I mean, just what one decision, you've got hate coming to you left, right, centre, sir.
Oh yeah, like, imagine that though, being in the stadium. So you think about the new camp, or Camp Nou as it's known, the Barcelona stadium, which can hold about 90,000 people. Now imagine you're a Barcelona player, you've probably got about 87,000 fans on your side, and you got 3,000 fans against you. If you're a ref, you've got that full 90,000 against you at all times. It's a scary thing, isn't it, to think of? Like, it's really daunting. The fans in the NFL just go full hog. Like, they paint themselves head to toe. They'll wear the biggest costumes ever. A bit like when you see those ones at like the World Cups and stuff, like the Rugby World Cup. But that's for games that are just season games that these fans will dress up for. It's not like the Super Bowl or the playoffs at this point. And it's a really unique world, NFL, because it's a very stop-start game. You look at the quarters. They have 4 quarters that are 15 minutes each. So you think, oh yeah, that's great, it's only an hour. It's not. The game will last 3 hours because of the stop, start. Because obviously, as we all know, America's very commercial heavy. Hence the reason why if you can get a commercial in the Super Bowl, it's one of the biggest things you can do. Reasons why you see like Marvel and Disney and Fox and NBC will put the things out on the Super Bowl. It's such a unique sport to get into because it's kind of like rugby, apart from you can hit harder than rugby. Hence the reason why, as the English always say, they're all wearing this body gear, they're all just a bunch of wimps. Honestly, if you see some of the tackles that some of those NFL players take, rugby is you go around the knees, you hook them because that's it then. Whereas in the NFL, they'll go for a full-on chest shot and knock you into next week. Like, honest to God, if you've never seen NFL sacks or tackles, just search it up. They are brutal. It's also a very tactical game in that sense because it's all heavy on game plans and certain routes and certain plays such as blitzes, or you're going for the Hail Marys where you're throwing it all the way down the field, whether you're going to go for a running play, whether you're going to go for a passing play. It's weird because it's very much about graphs. It's a really weird thing to think of in sport. Like when you think of like football and rugby, you got all the tactics, so you got the your different formations. Where in this, it's like lines, and you got to go certain ways, certain plays happen. If you've never watched the NFL, go and watch it. It is a really good sport. It's very, like I said, it's very stop-start, so it's hard to get into. But the one game I will always tell you to watch if you want to get into the NFL is watch the Super Bowl. It's one of the biggest events of the year ever. It's bigger than, let's say the Premier League, and it's bigger than the Champions League. It's massive.
It's the Rolls Royce.
It is the Rolls Royce of sporting events. It is just... It's watched by so many people, even those who don't even follow the NFL.
It's the thing, isn't it? It's the thing to watch, isn't it?
Yeah. It's weird to think about with the NFL. You have 2 teams. Like for me in football, there is one team doing the defensive jobs and the attacking jobs. But in the NFL, you have an offense and a defense. And it's really weird to think about. Like, even to this day, it's still weird. It's incredible because you see some of these guys who are, they're quite podgy, a lot of the defensive, because they've got the weight behind to throw into the tackle. But honest to God, it is brutal. It's brutal, but it's wicked. I definitely recommend it. If you've never watched the NFL, go and watch the Super Bowl. Like, go and watch repeats of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, and the thing is, as well, like I said with that, you get the great halftime shows. Like, The Weeknd was wicked on the last one.
I was about to say that.
It's hard when you live in England and you're watching it because it's on till 4 or 5 a.m. So you need to prep yourself. But it is such a wonderful sport. Honestly, it's one of those sports I was so glad I got into. Like, I have my team that I follow, like the Baltimore Ravens. Like, for me, they're the best team in the world, and I love them. And I remember when they got to the Super Bowl, and there was this blackout that happened halfway through. It was really funny because Twitter went absolutely wild saying that Bane was at the stadium. But honestly, God, you can see that it's an American sport for the fact of how commercialized it is. A bit like with baseball and hockey. It's all very brand heavy. So, whenever they have like a short moment where they're having like a timeout or something, you always get the commentators going, thank you for joining us in the NHL, which is sponsored by Papa John's. If you want a good pizza, go Papa John's. It's really endorsement heavy compared to like other sports. I mean, football and rugby have kind of got into that with the sponsorships, but they don't constantly throw it upon you until the actual advert breaks. Yeah. Whereas they'll do it during the games and stuff. But yeah, American sports for me, I've always loved. I think that it just shows you how different a sport can be just across 5,000 miles across the world. I mean, it's a bit like that Australian football. The one, is it called Australian football?
Aussie rules.
Aussie rules, that's it. I couldn't remember what it's called. I mean, that's weird because that's like football, Gaelic football, rugby all mixed in one.
That is violent. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen clips. Yeah. I've never watched a full game, but I've seen clips. Honest to God, those men, it just proves that the Aussies are the toughest people in the world.
Yeah, they are. Especially when England goes against them in the rugby, they're like, and New Zealand, they're like...
but New Zealand, when you think of their rugby, you always think of their traditional haka they do. Yeah. Their warrior dance. Like, I remember in PE learning that.
Oh, cool. You did that, cool. Give us a bit then.
So it was going, we're doing all this going, like the big faces and everything. Like, if the viewers could see the camera I just did then, they'd be in for a treat. Like, the fact they do it before every game.
Yeah, it's great. It's amazing. But the thing is, you're waiting for that. I am really jealous. My dad went to New Zealand, I think it was versus England. It was a friendly, and he managed to get some tickets, and he went. The haka was brilliant. I think everyone just goes, everyone wants to see the match, but the big thing is the haka. But people, not everyone, but a lot of people don't realise, like Tonga, Fiji, Samoa also do hackers as well.
It's that Samoan heritage, a bit like what The Rock says a lot.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's got a Samoan background. He's all about their heritage and bringing that out because that's what they used to do before a war to prove they were ready to fight. I think it's such a wonderful thing that they're incorporating culture into sports as well with that. Because let's be honest, like we said, the haka is the thing you want to see because it's very theatrical in that sense. It's wonderful to see another culture bringing that in. And I think, again, that's another aspect of sport which we forget is the theatrics of it. I mean, me going back to football is Ronaldo always does this famous big wide leg stance and he rolls his shorts up a bit so you can see his massive quads and he stands there, looks at the ball and looks up and he looks at the goal. And a lot of the time, let's be honest, he'll bang it in the back of the net. I used to always think he did that was because he knew how he was going to hit it, but it wasn't. It was all for the theatrics, the tension, the building of is he going to get it in? I think that's incredible that they're mixing that aspect in as well because it makes it more entertaining. I mean, you think of some of the best rugby games you've ever been to. They're always tense. There's always tension. There's always this big Hollywood kind of theatrical aspect that's going to happen, whether it be like a comeback or it's an absolute demolition job or if it's a rivalry between two teams. It's incredible and I love that.
Yeah, it is amazing. It really is. But just going back to the haka quickly, if you ever want to watch a good haka, type in New Zealand versus France. It was at the World Cup. I think it was 2 World Cups ago, or maybe 3. But anyway, France decided to come right up against, on the line where you could stand, and all lined up, arm in arm. And then New Zealand started doing the haka. What they normally do, that's fine. But New Zealand started to move forward when they were doing the haka, and they were doing it and doing the haka, and they got like literally face to face with them and just finished like the last line in their faces. It was ever so good. I've never seen anything like that, and it was just you knew from that moment this is going to be a good match. Part
of me wishes the New Zealand football team would do it as well, and like
don't they do it?
No, they don't. They don't do it. They just do the standard football thing and stand there, listen to the national anthem and leave. But that dance in general, I think it's such a cracking mind game to get in the head of your opponent. One of the biggest things in sports is those mind games. If you can get in the head of your opponent in that way, like they do with the haka, and you can overcome them and make them make mistakes and make them lose everything.
Yeah, but I think people as well, they don't realise there's loads of different hackers as well. There's not just the one.
Yeah, there's so many versions because of the different Samoan tribes.
Yeah, so it's, if you get a chance, people, I'd definitely recommend YouTube it. It's good. It really is.
I personally don't think I could cope with a haka. I really don't think I could cope. If I was on that line and I saw that at me, I'd probably be really bad because I'd be like, that was amazing, guys. Well done. I love that. I love it. Can I join that team now? Can I be with them? Because let's be honest, they're going to trounce us, but I want to do that. And yeah, the mentality that the rugby teams have that, because I remember when England beat them, which was quite monumental because let's be honest, New Zealand are not an easy team to beat.
No, if you beat Australia, New Zealand or South Africa, it's like, we're doing all right here.
Or Ireland.
Ireland, as well. Scotland are coming on as well in the Six Nations at the moment. So, yeah. Well,
they did the comeback against England the other day.
They did, unfortunately. But well done to Scotland, yeah.
Well, that's it. It's incredible to think, like I said, when you've got teams like that out there, like Australia, South Africa, and all them that are doing better at rugby than us, or they're doing better at football than us, when we created those two sports, may I just say, it's quite sad to be an Englishman because you sit there and think, we created this and we're crap.
Yeah, but it happens, and we come back, then everyone catches up, or we lose it, or something. So it happens in all sports, doesn't it? So
the biggest one I remember though, like watching a game in that sense, and kind of like a comeback, was the England World Cup during 2018, where as an Englishman, we all know that whenever we see England in the Football World Cup, we all kind of go, oh, well, let's not get our hopes up, because for years and years we've always sat there and gone, we're going to win it this year, it's going to be our year, And I remember in 2018, I was in Fuerteventura at the time. I'd watched the games where we got at the group stage and we looked really good, and I was thinking, oh my God, we're doing amazing, but we ain't going to get any further. And it came down to the game where we were versing Colombia. Now, this game was 1-0 to us, and then it went to 1-1. Then in extra time, nothing happened. And then it came down to penalties. Now, Ben, I know you're not a football fan, but do you know how bad we are at penalties?
We're not the best, I know that.
Yeah, so I remember I was with two people that I just met on holiday, like this husband and wife. And, funny enough, they were from Derby, which I thought was quite funny. And we were watching the game together, and we were just discussing, going, oh my God, we had like hands over our eyes. And I remember when England scored a few, and I thought, okay, it's the standard England. And then we missed one, and then Colombia managed to bring it level. I remember that Colombia then missed because Pickford just saved it with one hand, and this penalty, if England scored, we were going through. And I remember Eric Dyer stepping up to the spot, and he put it in the back of the net, and the entire place went fucking nuts. Like, we were going, yeah, like screaming. Beers were flying everywhere in this hotel, and all you heard was all the England fans going, it's coming home, like chanting so loud. Like, we were in this room that was like all the doors were closed and you could hear us, and outside was the entertainment that the hotel had put on, and they had to stop because we were so loud, going, it's coming home, it's coming home, like chanting the loudest we can, like witnessing history. I just remember that amazing unity feeling, and it was incredible, like just witnessing that moment of history.
The one what sticks for me was the 2003 rugby.
Oh yes, I know. I think I might know which moment you're on about here. Actually,
yeah, I think you do. But it was a good game. It was the final. We were against Australia. We were a couple of points behind, and then that moment happened when Johnny Wilkinson did a drop goal, and he was a legend anyway.
But that goal was.
I mean, before that, but then
that cemented him.
that was just, you're in and you're staying in. That was just, and the feeling, it was mad. It felt so, obviously felt so good. And I mean, we're up and down in rugby as well, but we're just to win it, and it beat Australia. I remember it was stupid. It was back in 2003, but I remember because I think it was in Australia because I was watching it late at night. I was helping my mum defrost the freezer or something. I just remember that stupidly.
But that's it. You always remember what you're doing at those big events, don't you?
No, it was something stupid, and then I just remember like jumping up for joy and like, it was mad. And then the whole England squad was fantastic. Like fantastic selection. We couldn't fault them. They did really well. Just legendary. We've come close. We have come close in the rugby, but we haven't quite got there. We've had it was just that last match, or we've had a couple of hiccups, but we're getting there again for sure. But hopefully in the near future, we'll hopefully do it again. But for me, that will always stick in my mind as the best rugby moment. But
it's just like you said, it's really crazy how you remember something so stupid that you were doing, like you said, defrosting the fridge. Like for the World Cup when England were in it and we got beat by Brazil, like the running up to that point. I remember I was always at school at the breakfast club watching the World Cup as a kid. Yeah. But it's just incredible, like I said, how you remember those little things. And I think that really sums up what we've been talking about really nicely tonight. Like, we've been speaking for ages about sports, and again,
you're lucky we've cut it down.
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, you're lucky that we've cut this down because we could have carried on for another fair few hours, because I think sports is so unique to everyone in a different way. Like, you know, it's a bit like when you get your favourite team. It's often because a family member liked it, like your granddad or your uncle, and then you were brought up to like that team. Or, you know, it's the fact that there's a player that you really liked and they play for your team. But I think sports is such a unique universal language that majority of the world will talk some form of sports to you, whether it be football, whether it be rugby, whether it be motorsports, whether it be cheese rolling in Gloucester, who knows? But what I will say is, if you've never been to a sports event, like we said earlier, go to one. Even if you're not a sports fan, just go and witness that atmosphere, because it is unique. But that also means next week we're going to be talking about something which is quite different to a topic. You know, that it's not really like the other topics talked about, like social media, food, and this. We're talking about dreams.
Are we? Okay.
We are. Yeah. We're talking about your wildest dreams, your sexiest dreams, and maybe those dodgy nightmares that you've had.
Oh, that's going to be a long pod.
But I want you guys who are listening to this pod, I want you to send in your weirdest dreams, your best dreams that you've ever had, the craziest dreams you've ever experienced, because, you know, we want to talk about it on the show. We want to kind of divulge and maybe find out what that dream really meant. So I'm quite excited for that, because I have had some of the weirdest dreams in lockdown, I will say. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for listening to us ramble on about sports and all sorts. But what we will say is stay safe. We'll see you soon. But don't forget to email us in on, what is the email, Ben, again?
RNB Fusion at outlook.com.
RNB Fusion at outlook.com. But until then, guys, I have been your co-host, Ross, and this is my co-host,
Benni Boi.
And we will see you soon. The intro to RNB Fusion podcast is Just Smile by Liquid. You can find this on soundcloud.com/liquid, and that is spelled LIQWYD. This falls under the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0, and you can also find this on YouTube under the channel Audio Library.